It's the summer of 1939, and a king has vanished from his grave. Where his body should lie, there is only a shadow. His bones have completely dissolved into the acid ground. Not a single tooth or rib has survived the centuries. Yet the treasure around him is untouched and gleaming. This is Sutton Hoo, the richest grave ever found in England. It sits on a sandy ridge above a quiet Suffolk river. For 1,300 years, the mounds keep their silence. Then a widow named Edith Pretty grows curious about them. She hires a local, self-taught man to open the earth. His name is Basil Brown, and he digs by hand. He begins with the largest mound on the ridge. On the second day, his trowel scrapes against iron. It is a ship's rivet, one of a long line. He follows the rivets, and the shape of a hull appears. The wood is gone, but the sand remembers its form. A whole ship lies pressed as a stain in the soil. It measures 27 meters from prow to stern. It is the largest ship burial ever found in Europe. Rows of iron rivets trace where the planks once joined. Brown brushes the sand away with the softest touch. He uncovers the curved bench where rowers once sat. This vessel was dragged uphill from the river below. 40 strong men once rowed it across cold water. Now it serves as a coffin, fit for a king. At its center, a wooden burial chamber once stood. That roof collapsed long ago under the weight of earth. Beneath it lay a treasure beyond anything imagined. In 1939, war is only weeks away from England. So a team of experts rushes to the threatened site. They work against the clock through the late summer. What they lift from the chamber stuns the whole nation. First comes the great buckle, heavy in the hand. It weighs over 400 grams of pure soft gold. Writhing animals twist across its polished surface. Hidden inside, a clever hollow once held something dear. Next, they raise a purse lid, bright with garnets. Its red stones are cut thinner than a fingernail. Inside, it lay 37 gold coins from distant lands. Each coin was struck in a different Frankish mint. Shoulder clasps once fastened a royal cloak. Their garnets are laid in a perfect grid of cells. The craft is so fine, no modern smith can copy it. Then, the diggers reach the most haunting object of all. It is a helmet, shattered into hundreds of pieces. Its iron face has rusted into a fragile brown crust. Rebuilt, it stares out with 2 empty eye holes. Across its brow stretches a fierce dragon of bronze. Its wings form the eyebrows. Its tail forms the nose. Tiny stamped warriors march in panels across its cheeks. Whoever wore it ruled men and led them into war. This is the face of a forgotten Anglo-Saxon king. A pattern-welded sword lay rusted at his side. Its blade was forged from twisted rods of iron. Its hilt glittered with gold and more red garnets. A great round shield rotted away to its iron boss. A gilded bird of prey once swooped across its face. Spears and an axe hammer lay ready for the next world. Beside them stood a towering iron standard, crowned by a strange, ringed iron stag, and a heavy whetstone carved with 8 grim faces. This scepter marked its owner as a true ruler. Silver bowls from Byzantium were stacked in the dark. They had traveled thousands of miles to this grave. A great silver dish bore the stamp of an emperor. Drinking horns were tipped with bright gilded silver. Maple wood bottles were bound in delicate metal. A lyre lay broken in a beaver-skin bag. Music once filled the hall this king ruled. Folded textiles and cloaks crumbled into colored dust. Even a tar-covered bucket survived the long burial. 41 separate objects of solid gold emerged. Together, they form a king's entire household for death. But of the king himself, there was nothing at all. No skull, no spine, no hands clutching the sword. The sandy soil of Suffolk is fiercely acidic. Acid in the ground devoured every bone over the years. It ate the flesh, then the skeleton, then the teeth. All that remained was a faint chemical shadow. Tests later found high phosphate where a body once decayed. The chemistry of the ground had simply erased him. Iron survives in this acid, but bone does not. It proves a man truly lay among the riches. He was laid out full length in his ship of treasure. Most believe he was a king named Redwald. Raedwald ruled the kingdom of East Anglia. He was one of the most powerful kings of his age. He died around the year 624, history records. The coins in his purse help fix that very date. His people rowed his ship up from the shining river. They dragged it to the ridge and dug it deep. They filled it with everything a king would need. Then they raised a mountain of earth above him. The mound stood as his monument for centuries. This was a pagan burial in a changing Christian age. Those silver bowls may carry quiet Christian marks. A king caught between the old gods and the new faith. The grave whispers of a world in deep transition. Robbers had once dug into this very mound long ago. But they stopped just short of the buried chamber. They missed the greatest hoard by only a few feet. So the king's gold waited safely in the dark. Then came the question of who owned the treasure. A coroner's court was called to decide its fate. The jury ruled the hoard belonged to Edith Pretty. She gave the entire fortune to the British nation. It was the greatest gift the museum had ever received. Weeks later, war swallowed Europe whole. The treasure was hidden deep in a disused tunnel. It sheltered below London through years of bombing. When peace came, the gold returned to the light. Experts spent years rebuilding the shattered war mask. They laid each broken piece on a workshop bench. Some pieces were no larger than a thumbnail. They fitted hundreds of fragments like a grim puzzle. 2 reconstructions were made over many decades. Today, the iron face stares from a glass case. It has become the very symbol of a lost age. Visitors gather around it in a hushed gallery. Its empty eyes meet theirs across 13 centuries. The gold buckle still gleams as it did when buried. The garnets still burn red under the museum lights. The silver bowls still bear their imperial stamps. Every object survives, perfect and unbroken. Only the man who owned them is gone. Back at the mounds, the grass grows green again. Sheep graze quietly over the buried kingdom. The river still bends past the silent ridge. Mudflats stretch where his longship once was launched. The ship's outline was lifted in plaster and moved. Its hollow shape still survives in a dim store. The original mounds were rebuilt to their old height. They rise once more over the sandy Suffolk soil. Other mounds nearby held warriors and even a horse. One young man was buried with his bridled stallion. Their bones, too, dissolved into the hungry ground. A visitor center now stands above the ancient ridge. People walk the quiet paths between the barrows. Sutton Hoo rewrote what we knew of these so-called Dark Ages. It proved these people were no crude barbarians. They were master smiths, traders, and poets. Their art reached from Sweden to far Byzantium. The poem Beowulf describes a burial just like this. A king sent to the next world in a treasure ship. For 1,000 years, that scene seemed pure legend. Then Basil Brown's trowel proved the poem was real. The self-taught digger found a vanished kingdom. He uncovered the grave of an English king. A king whose body the earth chose to erase. It left behind only his crown of rusted iron and the faint outline of a man in the sand. Today, the helmet still stares from its glass case, empty-eyed, the silent guardian of a vanished king.